Namaskar. Hello and welcome to PGurus channel. I'm your host Sree Iyer. Today joining me is General Ravi Shankar, and we're going to be talking about a very important topic that has been doing the rounds in the last few days. Not much activity on the media, but as always, PGurus is at the tip of the spear. This will be coming jointly on Ganeshot as well as on PGurus. So you know who my guest is. General Ravi Shankar, Namaskar and welcome to PGurus channel.
Namaskar and thanks a lot. It's so nice to interact with you here in Chennai.
Thank you, sir. It's a wonderful weather now. This time of the year is beautiful in Chennai. And General Ravi Shankar, we had a very beautiful, in-depth talk about Brahmaputra about a year and a half ago, in the early days of our engagements. And I think till today, that is a reference as far as I'm concerned about what is Brahmaputra and so on. So what has now happened is a few days ago, China announced that officially we are going to construct a dam after the bend, just before it starts rapidly descending down to India. Now, we have talked about this. There are 6 other dams that are, 1 or 2 are done, 2 or 3 in planning. So is this just empty rhetoric, or is it something that's more substantive?
I think it's a very important topic you touched upon. Not much has changed from what we discussed then to now. What has happened? What's the change? The change is, at that time it was only a proposal which was in the offing and all.
Right.
Today it has been approved by the government, the Chinese government, that we should go ahead with the project. But where the exact location of the project, no one knows still. What will be the impact? I wouldn't say impact. How will this project be executed? No one knows. What time frame? No one knows. Everything is hazy. There's a lot of concern in India. Brahmaputra water will reduce and a lot of issues. To some extent valid, a large extent not valid. But we need to understand why this dam is being built.
Yes.
If we don't understand that, the rest is, later day story. Now, China fundamentally wants to take water from this dam into Yunnan and feed it in, somehow link it into the Yangtze basin. Why? Climate change. For the past 4-5 years, the climate change in Yunnan and the Yangtze basin is so high that during droughts, there's no water in the Yangtze basin. There's no water in Yunnan. And Yunnan is their powerhouse for water, their hydroelectricity. There have been power shortages here. If the power shortages are not addressed, the industrial capacity of China is at risk. And if water doesn't go through the Yangtze basin, they have serious problems. This has happened in the past 4 years. And I've done a series on climate change in China. So they need water. So you have to take water from the bend of Brahmaputra down to Yunnan. Now it's not a freeway that it will go down straight.
Right.
You have to go up and down in the mountains. Now, a lot of water has to flow. Okay, it's not simple. So if you have to have a lot of water flowing, and at times you have to lift it up. So lifting it up means giant pumps.
Yes.
Giant pumps mean a lot of electricity.
Correct.
So this dam, whatever electricity it produces,
it will be used to just do this.
No, it is designed so.
I see.
It is designed to take this water because their fundamental thing is water for further purposes downstream. Otherwise, China will die. We have to understand this. So, right. Now, that's the first part. So, if you want water throughout the year in mainland China, okay, you have to ensure that there is enough water to feed mainland China from Brahmaputra or Sangpo, Sangpo. Now, Sangpo at that place doesn't have too much water. It is only snow melt. The monsoon also doesn't reach. It's only in that big bend where there's a gap in the mountains, the monsoons go through and there's more water. That's why the big bend. The other 6 dams which you mentioned, which are earlier, GHU and above, they are basically run-of-the-water dams. Really, no. But here, you need water. So water will come from the monsoon to this area. This area is a little more greener. And the big bend with its canyon gives the pondage. You can store water there. And the descent of the Brahmaputra into India through 𝗣𝗘𝗙𝗪 is huge. Actually, if you go to 𝗣𝗘𝗪, it's a sight to see. People say the 7 wonders of the world, I call it the 8th wonder of the world. It's something. So you have to, the canyon gives two side walls of the dam. You just have to put it across in whichever manner, and you get huge pondage behind.
Right.
Okay, it's not going to be one dam. It can't be one dam either. It's going to be a dam, another dam, another dam. It's going to be probably a series of dams because this, the slope is such. You put a dam here, it will only get water till here.
Correct.
Another, it has to be a series of steps.
Multiple ladder-like structure.
That's my guess.
Step.
Yeah, that's my guess, but nothing is known. You need that water. And then electricity comes. Now, what's the problem for India in this? It is their thing. The problem for India is that we won't be overall deficient of water in the Brahmaputra.
Yes.
That's the first thing I must clarify.
Correct. We already did that in the previous video.
There's only 15% water which comes through the 𝗟𝗡𝗏𝗪.
Right.
And the balance 85% is from the Brahmaputra system. And incidentally, Brahmaputra gets a feed from the north Himalayan region, also from the south, 𝗟𝗘𝗙𝗪 hills. So Brahmaputra tributaries are both north and south. And the south one gives copious water during monsoons.
Correct.
Right? So that's not the issue. In fact, probably to some extent in Assam and all, if this water doesn't come through, it will be a boon because the flooding will be a little less.
Slower rush. Yeah.
But the problem is, between the time this enters India till it joins Brahmaputra at Sadia, it's only at Sadia it's called Brahmaputra. Before that it's called Siang, Dibang and Lohit, 3 rivers which come in. Dibang is completely in India. Lohit, originates north of Wolong, comes 250 kilometers. By the time it comes, gets a lot of water. All this collects water from the hills in our side. So there's no issue. So it's in that Dibang portion, Siang portion that water will reduce. So you have, and people's ecology, everything gets affected there. So you have to do something to ensure that there's adequate water in that bit. And second, if all this water is there, stored upstream, tomorrow China can weaponize it.
Yes.
Yeah. Release water when you don't need it, hold back water when you need it. So what do? The answer is simple and complicated. Simple in the sense, essentially you need to have a mirror dam here on our side. You have a dam where you design it in a manner when they release water, you fill it. And when they hold back water, you put water out of your system. It has to be a little, different. You have to, when you mirror, you have to do exactly opposite of what China is doing. Right? So that's the thing. So when water reduces, you get water out of your pondage and push it. When that fellow increases flow of water,
you reduce yours. Yeah.
You reduce yours and fill your dam.
So the net output beyond this dam is more or less the same.
So that's, you actually said it. So that you have to balance that out. That's the technical part.
Correct.
But the bigger part is two, which people are not talking of. The first is, when you do so much pondage of water, whether our side, their side, it doesn't matter. You invert or you disturb the monsoon patterns.
Yes.
The moment you disturb the monsoon patterns and precipitation in that area increases because of the winds, you will have more rain in Tibet. And more rain in Tibet can lead to disaster. Climate change in Tibet has a larger ramification. And that ramification goes against China itself. I'm very surprised that they have not taken this into account. And it could disturb our northeastern monsoon, the return monsoon, which we are now facing in Chennai. It also disturbs the monsoon which hits the Chinese coast. Both these will get affected. That is something which I don't see much, but there are journals where I read where this is in the cards. The next major issue, and mudslides and things like that could happen, so that's the danger.
Yeah.
The third danger, which is actually something which is very critical, is that this entire area is earthquake prone.
Yeah.
Now, what happens when a big mass of water you collect there? So the weight of the water bears on that fragile soil.
Right.
And it seeps through the cracks in the soil, and the water becomes a pressure and it breaks the rocks underneath. And then what happens? An earthquake.
Yes.
This is not without precedence. It has happened once in Leh, 3-4 years back, at a place called 𝗥𝗘𝗙𝗪, where because of this local water and all that, mudslides happened and half the town got washed away. Lot of injuries, everything. This is as far as the mudslides and change of precipitation and all that is concerned. In Sichuan, a few years back, I don't remember the exact date, there was an earthquake where a lot of people died. It is estimated about 50,000 people died in that earthquake. And later, when it was investigated as to why this earthquake took place, it was because some 100-200 kilometers away from Sichuan, they constructed an artificial lake, huge artificial lake, Chinese. And that lake, water got filled, the weight of the water in that lake seeped through, broke rocks under that, broke the subterranean, there were fractures, which these people later realized, broke that, and earthquake hit Sichuan. Earthquake,
Right.
it can hit anywhere.
Correct.
And any built up area will have more
Impact.
So this entire area is earthquake prone. So that will affect us. Earthquakes. So earthquakes, mudslides, those are the major issues as far as I am concerned. Water is a very minor issue. I think we can tackle it. But then you are creating another water body. See, a mirror dam is, like I said, it's simple and complicated.
Yes.
So if you have a mirror dam, you are also creating a water body in addition to what they are doing downstream.
Right.
So you are actually going to disturb the entire ecosystem out there and your monsoon system. If that monsoon system fails, the return winds, if they collect water from these bodies and leave water there, then you will see South India getting affected. So the effects are large. So we have to tackle them accordingly. We have to use leverages to ensure that this thing is somehow headed off. The next problem which will happen is in Bangladesh. See, reduced water in Brahmaputra. Let's say that a lot of water gets reduced in Brahmaputra. The net effect is in Bangladesh. Bangladesh people are against us these days.
Right.
And they are going with Chinese. The very Chinese with whom they are going to destroy them. Because if water doesn't flow into Brahmaputra and its tributaries as Jamuna and Meghna and all as it enters Padma, as it is called in Bangladesh, the water will not flush the saline water out. Or the silt out.
Correct.
As a result, salinity will come in.
That's what's happening to Sindh.
Precisely. So, as it is, there are issues in Bangladesh. If the sea water starts,
the low-lying areas also will get submerged. It will become saline. It cannot be used for cultivation. That takes, a lot of time to undo.
Yeah. So all these problems are there. And it will take a joint effort by India and Bangladesh. In fact, we need to use Bangladesh to convince Chinese.
Right.
And use that as a leverage. And that is a good lever for us to use to even wean away Bangladesh from China. But at this point of time, I don't think Bangladesh is in any mood to even think on these lines. You know that. Okay, they are only looking at, Sree, all that. So, this is the sum total of the story of the Brahmaputra Dam. No. Yeah, any...
General Ravi Shankar, one thing that China seems to want to do is they just sort of clam it down your throat. They don't even think about all these things. So far, I don't think there's been any discussion that we are going to build these dams. From my last conversation with you, they just decide this is our side, we are going to build it.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Sir, question is, in US, right, when I did my master's program, I used to work with School of Atmospheric Sciences in Denver, in Colorado. Very advanced, defense projects used to be given there. Essentially what it was it had a very good prediction model for when it is going to rain. Essentially climate prediction model software, initial stuff that got done. So from that they can model and they can say, because Colorado, right, the river Colorado, it will provide water for but 20-30 kilometers on either side. After that it is completely arid region. So what amount of water comes in is very essential for them to plan what they need to do. They've done a good job of it. In this case, do you think China did any modeling to understand the climatic effects, long term, short term?
I don't think so.
If they want to brute force this, every time they do this thing, it only hits them more.
See, let's put that, they'll do it. They'll go through with this. But at the same time, I might like to tell everyone, it's not going to happen in a hurry. This will happen over the next maybe 25-30 years.
Yeah.
Because the Three Gorges Dam itself took 25 years for them to build.
Right.
And this will take that much time, right? And more, because you're doing all this in high altitude and in difficult terrain where, and your working seasons there are less.
Right.
You can't work 364/7 there. You can work half the time only because of rains and all that. So it's going to take long. That's the first part. Second, Mother Nature might decide against this. If there's an earthquake anywhere there, their entire project is gone. As simple as that. After that, they'll dare not touch it. Third point out of the story is, you have to understand that China is pretty desperate at this point of time, that they have to go with it. Otherwise, their mainland is going to get affected. They couldn't care a damn what happens in Tibet.
Yeah. Or in Bangladesh.
They're not bothered. They're really not bothered. Let's be very clear. They're not bothered. They know that India will take this up to a level and not beyond, because it doesn't affect India. They know that. So they will go through with it, right? Or attempt to go through with it. Will it succeed is $1 million question, because all their north to south water transfer programs are at risk. This mega project infrastructure assists their economy, so they'll not let go.
Right.
It increases the GDP.
Right.
It's a different thing. They're going to sink money in it and not get anything out. That risk they're taking. The risk they're taking is because they're desperate. They need, like I told you, they need water. This is something people don't understand. Why do they need so much electricity there, and to transfer this electricity from there to Yunnan is not a joke. Why are they doing it? I mean, people have to understand this. They're doing it because their mainland is at risk.
Yeah.
If the mainland Han-dominated areas of China is at risk, tomorrow China can collapse. And those of you who feel that no, this is not happening, all that. I've done 2 videos on climate change in China. In this I've spoken of because of climate change, there have been power shortages along the Yangtze Basin and Yunnan province. And they need it, otherwise they'll collapse tomorrow.
Yeah.
As it is, they're in a problem. So this is their long-term necessity. They couldn't get a dam, they'll go through. What should we do? Delay it. Now how do you delay it? You can delay it legally, you can do it illegally also, or whatever. You can do it in a hybrid mode also. And I wouldn't be reacting in a hurry for this, how to sort this issue out. Think through it. Opportunity will come. 20 years is a long time.
Correct.
Right? For something to happen. And when that happens, stop the story. And as simple as that. And my view is, in about 5-6 years, when the Chinese decline is irreversible, And when they might not be even able to sustain this kind of a funding which is required. So we shouldn't get too worried about it, but need to monitor it, need to put markers up, need to resist the whole story, need to leverage this for international opinion, right? And all. We must do everything because there is a problem for us also in this.
Yes.
Right? Well, that's how it is. Anything else you would like to know about this?
Yeah, well, one small thing. When I was growing up, I grew up in a place called 𝗏𝗏𝗏, which is where the dam is, right? Late 60s, what had happened was that a part of the main dam collapsed. It took about 300 people washed away. They were just working and putting up this cement. And one of the topics that was discussed was, they were saying, look, this is Krishna, this is not Godavari. Godavari has a gentle flow, Krishna has a rapid flow. And somewhere they didn't probably plan how much, because the water had built on the other side, that pressure just blew it away. I'm thinking Brahmaputra is probably 10 times faster than Krishna.
Especially there.
Yeah, especially there.
Maybe 1,000 times.
You don't have new technology. It's still concrete. It is still cement. Well, can they even be able to build this thing?
They've taken about 20 years to go into the whole story, and they are now convinced that they have the technology to build it. Whether it is feasible or not, time will tell. Personally, I don't think they'll be able to complete it. Right? I don't think they'll have the funding to complete it. See, at the end of the day, whatever you do in terms of infrastructure, you need money for it. They don't have. In fact, if I look at it from my point of view, this is a very desperate gamble which they've undertaken. It indicates the problems which China is facing. I would rather see, look, China is at a stage where they can't do without this dam 20 years hence. So if I somehow do something here, and in the next 20 years, if China's trajectory is going to go down, what do you do with China? How do you handle China? What are the repercussions of that? Is something more for me. The discourse in India, unfortunately, is that we are missing the bigger picture. I'm looking at that bigger picture.
Correct.
What I've spoken to you is the bigger picture.
Right? Absolutely. Yeah.
We need to have a bigger game plan to offset it rather than just think, put a dam, put some protest, that won't work. We have to look strategically at this whole story.
Yes, indeed, sir. Now let's go to the next topic, which is they have announced formalization of 𝗥𝗡𝗙 area as a county or a province or something like that. You can say that, okay, this is their way of answering Article 370 abrogation in India, although that doesn't concern them at all. One can say that, okay, there are two sides to this. Just merely saying that this is going to be named this county, is there any significance to this?
Yeah, there is a lot of significance. This is not a matter of putting across their territorial sovereignty or all that. You have to look beyond this. Historically, this area is part of Tibet. Right? But this province is now, they've redesignated to come under Xinjiang. It is not under Tibet. This is the area of Changtang. Half of Changtang is that side, half of Changtang is this side. Changtang in Tibetan is eastern plains. Right? People in eastern Ladakh, Ladakhis are also called Changtangis. So, but why have they done this? Why have they switched the administration of this area from Tibet to Xinjiang? The answer lies there. Okay. Militarily, this area can get supplied communication-wise from the G219, which goes all along the Himalayas, enters this area, goes out into Xinjiang and goes to Hotan. Right?
You're talking about Karakoram highway part of it.
Not the highway which runs all across the Himalayas.
Okay.
From Lhasa along the
But it
Himalayas.
goes through 𝗥𝗘𝗙𝗧, right?
𝗥𝗘𝗙𝗧, yeah. That's the road. That's why the G219, that is why they grabbed this place.
Yeah.
That road connects Tibet with Xinjiang or Xinjiang as it used to be called. And now that has to be defended. Right? Now to defend it, you have to sustain troops there, whatever who are there. Where do they come from? Is it easier to sustain them from all along the Himalayas from the east, or is it from the west that they can come to this area? So that's the first. You see, if you understand this, the rest everything falls in place. Now to maintain and sustain this area from the east, you have to come to Lhasa. From Lhasa, you have to undertake a 2,000-kilometer journey in high altitude, which is overseen completely by us. You can see it. Okay. In fact, if you go to Chardingla, which is on north of 𝗏𝗏𝗃, you can see Mansarovar from there. So that entire route right up to Mansarovar beyond, it's in your vision, and you can interfere with the logistics. But on the other hand, from Hotan, Kashgar, that area, you can come up from the Hotan plains or the Tarim basin, that area, and up into 𝗥𝗘𝗙𝗧. And if you see what they have done in 2020 in their, when they came into eastern Ladakh, their complete logistics, their complete operational movement, mobilization, everything was from there. Their air elements, major elements are based at Hotan, which is to the north in Xinjiang, and some in Naku, which is in Tibet. Now, that Hotan is at about 3,000, 4,000 feet. This is at 14,000 feet.
Oh, wow.
They have to come up. So, their complete logistics has to come through this route. This is the shortest route compared to that. So, to ensure logistics viability of their forces now deployed in eastern Ladakh, they have clubbed this county with Xinjiang. As part of their civil-military fusion, the counties and the local governments are supposed to have a big say, and they're supposed to help the PLA in mobilization and logistics, everything. That's their concept of civil-military fusion, and that is why they have got this from the north and not from Lhasa. Now the second thing is, Lhasa, if this earlier was under the Tibet authority, what happens tomorrow if something happens in Tibet and their administration in Tibet starts breaking or getting undercut, due to local factors?
Right.
Then their logistics here will get affected.
Correct.
Right? So it is better to keep it through Xinjiang or Xinjiang through Hotan and Kashgar prefectures or those principalities, and where they have a huge hold and where they are investing a lot of money for their semiconductors and all because of the clean water availability there.
Right.
And they are also trying to expand further east from there into, to have an alternate for the 𝗏𝗍𝗄. So administratively they will be more stable if this is based on Xinjiang rather than Tibet.
And for the same reason, they have also used 𝗥𝗘𝗙𝗧, because again, it's part of the same highway, so same thing.
That's it. So their entire weight of their operations, or the node or the center of gravity of their operations, has swung to the north. And they also worry, I think, they're indicating that this is a better way to stymie any effort by us, offensive effort. Even in a defensive scenario, they'll be logistically more sustainable if they do this logistic sustenance through Xinjiang.
Do you like some water?
No, it's okay. So that is why this switch.
Well, interesting, and we have to see how this plays out. General Ravi Shankar, last question before we wind down. Recently there was disengagement. Explain to us in common parlance what disengagement means.
Okay, what disengagement means is, look, earlier they were sitting like you and I are sitting, you know, a little farther. You come, sit, put a trench, put a shelter out there, you're sitting there. I put a shelter, everything here, I'm sitting here. I don't allow you to go, you don't allow me to come in, both. Okay, I can't go that side, which is my claimed area. You also can't go behind me, which is your claimed area. That's how it was. So you're engaged, point to point. So when you say disengaged, what has happened is, both India and China have decided, okay, we know we have a problem. Let's get back to what it was in 2020. What was it in 2020? You were allowed to go up to your claim line, that side, which is behind you. You were allowed to come to your claim line, which is now behind me. Okay, so let's go back to that. And there's a bottleneck in between the way to each other's claim lines, and it was at this bottleneck that we were engaged. And other places also similar, but this is everyone understands this, and it's in. So you're sitting there. So when you say disengagement, you've gone back. And actually the Chinese have gone back behind our claim lines.
I see.
And we have also gone back behind their claim lines. In fact, we were never there, except in a reaction to what they did. So we've also gone back. So they can come up to their claim line, and we can go up to our claim line, and that is monitored as per timing. Everyone informs each other. There's a protocols worked out, and that's happening. So that's all there is to disengagement. The Chinese have built their posts beyond that line or claim line. They're there. It's an open source. In fact, recently I did a video on this also, where the first thing I showed is where the Chinese now are.
Right.
So that's the disengagement. Now you are not in contact with each other. You're not in rifle distance with each other. You're far away. So what happens is, this reduces the chances of accidental firing or conflicts, scrimmages or whatever, which can snowball, skirmishes which can snowball into a conflict. So that's disengagement, but that's only the first part. After that, you need to reduce the force levels in that area, right? What you have done so far is, first thing when you came to that thing, you de-escalated the thing. Now you disengaged.
Right.
You've gone back to old positions. The next thing is, you have to reduce your force levels out there. Right? From there. Will you do it? Not after this. After they've made this new map and all.
Right.
If you think you're going to leave that area and come back, just forget it.
Right.
You will be there out of the engagement area.
But we are still watching.
Yeah, we are watching, like they are watching. But that's okay. That's part of the deal. I think we've done a damn good job on this. People, these days, if you see in the newspapers, there is always a headline saying China has done this, it's got this kind of aircraft, this kind of a capability and all that. And where are we? We are where we are. Their capabilities might go up, but none of those capabilities can be used here. And if they could use all those great capabilities,
they would have.
Why would they have gone back? They would have forced us.
Right.
Right? They can't. So one has to look at these things a little pragmatically to understand the strength which India has. In fact, the first time I came and had a thing about in this entire story in PGurus, I still remember telling you, look, just wait, things will work.
Right, right. I agree that. I remember that. Yes, yes.
Right? It will take time. One day they'll go back. Now they've gone back. The next we'll see what happens.
Thank you so much, General Ravi Shankar. You know, one understands more and more about all these intricacies about how armed forces at a country level look at things and how they decipher a lot of things that are happening. Now, let's hope that this Brahmaputra dam doesn't happen, because I really think that no technology can stop that fast-moving river. It's just madness to do it that way. But anyway, that's just me. Thank you so much, General Ravi Shankar. Viewers, we'll be back again with General Ravi Shankar on our weekly slot. This was a sit-down interview. He kindly gave us the gift of his time. Today is the first of the year, and we wanted to start off on this one.
Yeah.
It might air in a couple of days' time, but you know that it was recorded on first.
Yeah, but then let's say Happy New Year to everyone.
Happy New Year to all of you. 2025 is a very interesting mathematical number, 45 square, 1 square plus 2 square, all the way. You know all the things. People have put all this, a wonderful number, and let's hope that things are good too. Thank you so much.
Thank you, thank you.
Namaskar.